Red vs. Blue took the internet by storm with its 5 seasons. And it's pretty clear that with the potential it had, it was going to reach new heights with the momentum it was carrying. But I don't think anyone predicted how crazy influential this series would become, with it even being bigger than anyone would care to imagine. It became a following, as well as an icon for Rooster Teeth and its fans. Red vs. Blue was what started the careers of many, and really inspired everyone to do more with the platform we had. But I think no one really felt that until the latter 5 seasons in the first 10 this underdog to top dog series produced. Yes, I'm talking about Red vs. Blue seasons 6 through 8, aka Recollection, and seasons 9 and 10, aka the Freelancer Saga, which many dub altogether seasons 6 through 10 Project Freelancer, or any sort of version of that really. For me, Project Freelancer was and still is Red vs. Blue's magnum opus. Something so positively looked great upon universally by the fans, it's almost stereotypical to see this as the best section of the series. But is it really? Well, that's what I'm here for, to put these 5 seasons, 2 arcs, and 100 episodes perfectly, huh? Well, okay. To the test. Let's get into it, shall we?
Open this gate. No can do, bud. See, this is a secure facility. Nobody in, nobody out. Sorry, I guess you'll have to come back. Never.
Oh no. Then I guess we'll have to just walk through the huge hole in your secure wall.
Fine, I'll open the fucking gate.
Red vs. Blue Season 6 starts us off with a cold open. A serious one at that. RVB for a while actually had a theme song playing at the beginning of their complete cuts, but here, from the episodic to this complete cut, it just opens. It feels super different, and I think even the title is a great example of that. Season 6 isn't just called Season 6, it's called Reconstruction. The next 2 seasons after that are called Recreation and Revelations, respectively. If it feels like it gives spin-off vibes, you'd be right. I've heard, though I can't guarantee the source, that RVB Season 5 was gonna be the last season, hence the many alternate takes on the ending if you've seen that clip around of all the alternative endings, and they weren't sure of this direction of RVB, hence the weird naming convention, which is also kind of weird because there's actual spin-offs of that took place during seasons 4 and 5 called Out of Mind and Recovery 1 that go more in depth with the freelancers. So it feels like they were going in that direction anyways. If you haven't, by the way, don't worry. I don't think any of these spin-offs are really that required. I mean, they're short for sure, but honestly, you can easily watch the series and they fill you in enough to not need them. But back on topic, as I was saying, yes, they leaned into the freelancer side plots heavily, and in turn, we meet with Agent Washington, a freelancer simply recovering what was left of what was apparently Project Freelancer. We don't really get filled in, but that's kind of what this part of the series is. A big mystery trying to get unveiled by the freelancers and the Reds and Blues. The Reds and Blues are basically against the freelancers in a race for the truth, as well as playing a sort of cat and mouse with the freelancers as the cats and the Reds and Blues as the mouse, depending on who's really on the freelancer side, whether it be just Agent Main, aka the meta, a strong mute freelancer with an EVA helmet, or both Main and Wash. The stakes are always high to figure out what needs to be found and then find it by the Reds and Blues before they die, essentially. So you must be thinking, oh, it's so serious and everything. Actually, no. Both teams don't ever change their personalities, so their level of understanding of high stakes and what matters is still very non-existent, if only active during near death. AKA the meta is attacking.
Man, it got pretty quiet out there. You don't think they're really working with the meta, do you? Oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god!
No.
Now, you may think, oh, no, the serious stuff is dumbed down. Wrong again. I'm just calling you guys wrong. You guys are just dumb. Fuck you. Again, the meta is the meta. And man, while the Reds and Blues being scared of them is hilarious, it's still very evident how much of a threat they are to them, especially with Main's abnormal strength and scary amounts of cunning. It also takes time to humanize everyone. They make it very apparent to make them a bit more than just their stereotypes. For example, Church figures out he's the Alpha, an AI used to create other copies of himself, aka fragments. So when Wash needs him to help him take down the fragments, Church doesn't believe him and still believes he's a ghost, which, kudos for the series for hinting at Church being one and the same with Omega and is stubborn in believing so, but then does help Wash in a sacrifice play to erase the fragments and weaken the meta as a whole. Or how about the heartbreaking realization that every bit of their lives in BGC is fabricated? Like, they heard Wash say it previously, and it probably just sounded like he just wanted to under-exaggerate what they went through, but it's soul crushing when even the fearless leader of Red Team is beaten down and can't even fathom that everything they went through is essentially played out in a weird string of directed events.
Didn't you hear? We're cannon fodder. Practice! Well, if I'm the leader of junk, I may as well have a base made out of junk!
It also grounds BGC just a bit to keep it closer to the new direction Recollection is producing, and yeah, they definitely needed to do that. But again, it doesn't kill who and what the Reds and Blues are. In fact, Sarge makes that point apparent with a very genuine speech that ends with them taking on a fight that's even bigger than them. And despite their bumbling, they win. I think Revelations does a fantastic balance of comedy and seriousness perfectly. Reconstruction was a bit too serious, and for being too serious, they didn't really have the production to make it super convincing, to say the least. Halo 3 Machinima, when it comes to in-engine fights, is sorely lacking with this tone. The camera work is a bit wonky with Wash's fight against the Hornet, and when Wash gets taken down during his fights with the meta, I'm sorry, he looks very dead. This is especially obvious with his first fight in the main series against the meta. He gets hit twice, basically incapacitated, and crouches like he just looks like he's a little bit hurt, as well as sounding perfectly fine.
Don't just stand there. After it.
This abundance of seriousness also bogs down the comedy a bit. Just a bit morbid with how much death is played out in the beginning, or was gonna play out really, with Caboose killing a guy and Griffin Simmons actually near death. Yeah, the comedy weirdly felt out of the groove, if still funny at some points, but also felt silenced. Which is probably why Recreation is almost all fun and games. Get the pun? I like this season much better, not only for its actually well executed action with Tucker, but simply just having so many times for funny moments, and in turn, so many funny moments to be had.
It's in the sand.
It's in this Ed. This Ed what?
Donut, this is what? What is this? What, your pocket?
Is Tucker in your pocket? I remember him being a lot bigger.
Tucker! Are you in there?
There's still serious stuff, it's just in the background. I mean, in turn, the plot takes forever to get anywhere, kind of the trade-off with Reconstruction feel like a new thing each and every episode, and having a main event each time, but hey, I thought it was worth it. It feels like a correction of Reconstruction's seriousness anyway, so whether or not you see it as an overcorrection or not, just know even the show's creators thought the series needed a breather from the tone. Whether because they didn't like Reconstruction for it, or they're doing it for pacing, Recreation was great for it. Especially with the absolute shattering of the tone with Lopez and Donut's deaths at the very end. And man, let me just take the time to say that Washington is so good. At first seeming like Tex at the beginning of her arc, slowly getting into the groove of liking them, to eventually betraying them dramatically, to being a sympathetic villain at the end of the arc. Wash is a very complex character, with a tangled history of allegiance, and he's one of my favorites for it. The meta is not really a character at this time, but more of a force of nature. And again, he manages to be absolutely threatening to what are essentially cartoon characters with realistic mortality. I mean, they're rather pathetic anyways, but man, the energy this guy gives. I won't say any of the Reds and Blues get upgrades here, except for Church, to then immediately downgrade to an upgrade? Okay, so Church makes a great heroic save at the end of Reconstruction, where he's the Alpha. Then Epsilon essentially is the Alpha just because he's his memories. He still had his memories up to the point of a story beat we'll get into later, but also, he still has his personality, of course. So he has a more permanent version of amnesia, I guess.
Your hands off me, fucking douche!
I'm sorry, Church.
Church? I can explain. Who the fuck are these guys?
It might be subtle, but Epsilon seems a bit more serious compared to Alpha. But I don't know, it might be also how the plot goes. Maybe a bit more exaggerated with their feelings, but I also don't know about that either. Honestly, looking to Epsilon more as we go on, you'll maybe theorize a way in which all of this works, and in turn, it will make sense for the most part. But as a functional character, you essentially get a Church that is more into the plot than he ever was. The Alpha always felt like he was so sick and tired of the craziness of it all, and just wanted to stop.
How do you ever get anything done if all you ever do is argue with each other?
We don't! That's part of our charm! Quit fucking it up!
Epsilon, in turn, will keep digging until he finds everything.
Out from the darkness came, someone. I'll be right back.
Again, once more, it probably is the plot that pushes them, but even if, this is a fantastic distinction, and while subtle, is a great way to showcase how there is a difference after the sacrifice. After that, there are some great moments with the Reds and Blues at this point. Each guy seems to have a bunch of chances to be funny and whatnot, and certain ones even get a little something more, like Tucker being a badass for some reason, Sarge's revelation, oh wait, Donut's death. These moments give some weirdly big dubs to these certain characters, giving impact to the plot, and making them memorable for that. Then there's Tex, and well, for being essentially what makes certain fights work, she's probably one of the least interesting characters introduced until the near end. It just feels like they added her in for the fight as well as one more way to push Church into the plot yet again, cause yeah, she's completely rebooted. Church still kind of feels like Church at the end of the day, whereas Tex developed a whole lot to be more sympathetic to the Sim Troopers during BGC. Yeah, I'm not really sure I like bitchy Tex, even if having a nice Tex would be a weird juxtaposition after beating them up. I'm not saying her plot relevance wasn't needed or smart even, but yeah, not really big on her in the grand scheme of characters. Speaking of, I almost forgot about the visuals of Revelations. See, I said before, Reconstruction was a lot of bad action with machinima, and Recreation is very sparse action that was alright in engine, but mostly all talking. In Season 8, however, they go for animation. The transition to animation from the destroyed wall is a sucker punch, to say the least.
What? Wait. What are you up to? What is that noise? Do I hear a... car?
I wasn't a fan during the time of release, I joined in at Season 11, but I can imagine the awe that introduction of animation gave fans who were patiently waiting for each episode, because that's what RVB was for the most part. Machinima. So to finally go from machinimation to actual animation is probably what childhoods were made of. The polish isn't really there when it comes to the polishing of said animation. The armor textures feel a bit flat, the lighting was super dim and plain, especially when compared to Halo 3's gorgeous presentation in engine, and sometimes they'd be stuck in idle poses that are in-game, which is hard to ignore if you played the game before, but the animation itself, in a bubble more so, is fucking awesome. The action is absolutely insane. Created by the late Monty Ohm, who's created many spectacular animations prior to this, including a viral sensation I didn't know he created, the man makes things look so fucking amazing. I can't really describe it because I ain't an animator, even when I talk about animation a lot, but if I had to describe it, it would be like putting martial artists in a superhero movie. There's extreme intention with each and every action, but in turn, the actions are extremely exaggerated. Not only that, he makes those action scenes feel so kinetic. I think one thing I don't think I've heard people say though, is that he was still very funny. The Reds and Blues would be in pain. They've tried to defend themselves with random trash. They'd showcase Mercy so well. and they'd fall as hilariously as they stood. Tex's fight against them is a fantastic equilibrium of the serious/comedy styling that the season was ridden with. Tex is seriously owning these fuckers, but easily doing it in style and almost torturing them to her amusement. Also, to finally showcase the Freelancers to their fullest potential is exactly what was needed. This is amplified when the soundtrack comes into play. See, for reconstruction and I think recreation, we got Trocadero again on the track, still with that nice chill acoustic sound and actually introducing a bit of slightly more dramatic metal, because one of the greatest and memorable tracks comes from this, and that is the Meta's theme, Your Middle Name is Danger. I don't think any of these seasons have any credits online, maybe just for the DVD versions, but the entire track, Ghosts That Linger, still has that fun chill sound from their previous album, Roses Are Red, Violets Are Blue. But for season 8, they get someone different with the new sound, named Jeff Williams. Still filled with that rock sound, but this time it's a lot heavier, more electronic, and for certain records of Revelation's soundtrack, a bit poppier. There are a lot of fun character songs that are littered in there, not really for the show, but it seems everyone got one and are funnily enough bops, all things considered.
Well, I got the blues in a headlock. I got the blues in my shotgun sight. Well, I got the blues.
Am the best. Back me up, aliens.
I am the big dog, top of the line, numero uno. Man, listen, I'm the illest orb you know.
As for the rest of the main tracks, the songs seem to go for a more video game soundtrack feel. More orchestral feeling, really. This leads us to Tex's current theme, which, man, was basically Rooster Teeth's main theme for a while. Overall, Recollection was and still is one of the best showcases of RBB's unique style as a whole. It evolved, morphed, and perfectly balanced itself to fulfill the dual purpose this arc was supposed to present. And I guess I couldn't really ask for more. But we still got 2 seasons left.
Okay, everyone load up. Nav points are in your HUDs. Alternate navs uploaded to your secondary objectives. Sync.
Oh, right. Everyone, just say sync whenever she says that.
Oh. Sink? Refrigerator.
I know you're probably asking why I included the Freelancer saga into this mess. Well, for starters, it still covers the Freelancers mainly, a thing Recollection was already doing. But most importantly, the answers to the questions we've been asking about to begin with. To say Recollection and the Freelancer saga are 2 separate things is like saying the 2 seasons before the Portal in BGC as a whole is a new show. I mean, sure, but nah. The Freelancer saga is a completely different format, and yeah, I agree. This is a whole new arc. But come on, Recollection is so incomplete without the Freelancer saga. Recollection started certain things, like animation and the introduction of the Freelancers in the main plot finally, and the Freelancer saga is just an extension to that. So yeah, here's the Freelancer saga as well. At the end of Revelations, we saw Church put himself in an inescapable storage unit to save Tex, and in turn, Church is essentially in a room of his own creations, which is why everything is kind of off once we actually get into season 9, but that's kind of the point.
Damn it. Rocket jeeps? Donut giving orders? This is getting ridiculous. I'm putting a stop to this.
Finally having closure with Tex before the thing shuts down entirely, and Church finally bites it. At the same time, we get a B-plot, a prequel segment that we flip to every now and then, going over the events prior to BGC. Project Freelancer, an organization meant to fight off the insurrectionists of the actual canon. Well, an alternate version of the insurrectionists. We get reintroduced to ancient South Dakota, with her brother, North Dakota, as well as Carolina, the essential main protagonist, if we were also to call Church the main protagonist. In actuality, I still call them an ensemble cast, because we swap perspectives constantly with the cast. Carolina probably evens out on screen time with most of them, even if she is kind of the main lead. And also, we get these segments completely animated. While the A plot is completely machinima, the B plot is completely animated. And it's like this for the entire Freelancer saga. Season 10 has Church not actually die, big surprise, and introduces Carolina into the present time, aka machinima. Though her rolling out in animation is absolutely sick as well.
Hey there, Alpha. Been looking for you for a long time.
Oh no.
Now that I found you, you're gonna help me do what I should have done years ago. You're gonna help me kill the director.
There is a sad sacrifice with it, however. Like in the A plot, the pure machinima, they can't do anything but talk, really. Season 10 tries to do something with it by moving the plot constantly, like in Season 6, from setting to setting sporadically, sometimes even overlaying the story with the B plot. Season 9, on the other hand, tries to do something with it by freezing the plot. We'll get into Season 9's problems soon enough, though. As for the B plot, doing action constantly is very unrealistic, especially when you're trying to tell a story about an organization, so there will be downtime for them to rest. Plus, doing action constantly is tolling not only on the production, but the watchers. And these segments aren't infrequent either, they're every other scene. So there are slow moments in the 2 seasons in animation. It's low-key kind of a problem, since the pacing is technically slower than faster, but at the end of the day, you're watching the Freelancer side to see what happens. But now the question stands, do we care for what happens? Well, let's get into the characters. You got Carolina, a headstrong leader that is as emotionally invested into her team as can be, until she gets knocked down a peg when Tex is introduced and becomes number 2 to Tex's number 1. Then she becomes a character that is constantly struggling to actually meet up with her own personal standards, which grows faster than her actual growth. I think her arc is rather beautiful, and she does shine pretty well with the contemporaries she likes being around. I will mention that Carolina is always just kind of angry, but to be fair, it isn't just straight rage. She's sometimes cocky, she's a great leader, and she allows for some great straight man silly guy comedy.
Whoa! Same team!
What are you doing here?
Okay, take it easy, Carolina. We just wanted information.
Epsilon?
Look, if you two are planning on dragging us around wherever you want, the least you can do is fill us in.
I'll fill her in. Bounce you.
Tucker! Sorry.
She's extremely stubborn, but that's kind of the point. She learns to grow from that after the arc. I know a lot of people will probably be annoyed at her being a bitch. I mean, I was, but kind of knowing where all these characters come from, you kind of also get it. We get North and South Dakota as well. North is a rather nice guy with a father figure-like attitude, especially when he gets a fragment. He's clearly meant to be the opposite of South Dakota, who's his twin sister, and her personality is like Carolina's, but a lot angrier with less of a spine or integrity. I do like this dynamic, and with how they are, it makes sense that they're like this and how they turned out how they did, which is dead. North's kind of a nice guy, so he's cool and all, but South's descent into madness is what makes her more interesting. Like, she doesn't go insane, more like angrier and more bitter, turning into this salty bitch. I know I've been using bitch a lot, but it's literally a song. Let me play it.
Come on, Carolina, have fun, Carolina. You're always being such a bitch.
It's interesting, and I get people won't like her as well, but especially keeping in mind what happens to everyone, it makes sense to me. We got York next, because I didn't make an order for them. Agent New York actually appeared in the miniseries Out of Mind beforehand, but is fully realized in this part of the series. He's supposed to be a funny man, but is also nice and honest, like North. His main gimmick is having a crush on Carolina, and is probably the most intentionally charming character. He also gets the Delta AI, but unlike North, York has a more strict relationship with him, especially with how straightforward Delta tends to be. I don't know, I like him. You're always on his and North's side, and since we know where history led for them, it feels good to know that they're on the right side. Next we got Washington, again, and here he's actually the punching bag.
After what happened to Georgia?
Would someone please tell me what happened to Georgia?
Dude, you do not want to know.
I really do, though.
He is established as the weakest link many times, and even keeps his helmet on like the Reds and Blues. We'll talk about the helmets off later, but in turn, he finds himself as the most entertaining of the bunch.
What the fuck is with this guy?
We got Wyoming and Maine, also other pre-established characters. It's pretty clear, despite the fact that they don't really get to show off this trait as much, that they're shown as the residential bad boys for the sake of showcasing that they're going to be evil after the fact. But after this, Wyoming kinda gets left out in the dust. Probably because of all the screen time in BGC, but still, it kinda sucks, especially with what we got of him. But as for Maine, there's a lot. Since, well, there's a lot to explain for him, really. How he became the meta and all that. This is mainly sourced to... mainly sourced, fuck you. This is mainly sourced when he's given the Sigma AI. The fragments are lesser copies of the Alpha by traumatizing the Alpha and splitting his personalities, and in turn, seem to amplify some things, while seemingly growing some of their own. Sigma was the leader, essentially, and kinda the main bad boy of the batch of fragments, along with Omega, who is then given to Tex and is anger, and Gamma, who is given to Wyoming and is deceit. And when you know Sigma's creativity, you kinda see why they're the bad ones. The meta is the meta because of the fragments trying to be human, and when you see how messy it gets, you kinda see why that's bad. As for what's left of Maine, weirdly, you kinda get a sad story of a guy who's extremely strong and is rather a bully almost, morphing into a monster against his own will. I mean, if you pay attention, you get glimpses of his regret, even in Season 6 with his hesitation to kill Wash. And then you realize after reconstruction that Maine's hunger for the AI is simply all he knows and all he can do after he was fucked up so badly by them. He's broken, and that is something so interesting that is also super subtle. Next we get CT.
You can call me CT.
Like the actual CT, who is someone seeming rather sweet if only by word of mouth, really turned bitter and reluctant and untrustworthy around her teammates. And then come to find out she was secretly working against them. In turn, CT becomes more interesting, beyond her death really. She becomes the MacGuffin that pushes the events from Freelancer to RVB Season 1 into full throttle. It's also kind of weird with how all the female characters are bitterly angry, but whatevers. Out of all of them, she tends to be one of the more tragic characters. And I think finally we got Tex. Again, she's left as a mysterious character in what is essentially her origin story, weirdly enough, and is the anti-villain of this story, doing the wrong things for the right reasons, at least wrong according to the main ensemble. Mostly a background character, Tex still carries a lot of weight in the ongoing plot, being the literal, well, mystery that the agents are trying to get a handle on. In general, I do like the Freelancers. While I feel like they sadly pale in comparison to the Reds and Blues personality-wise, they're also mainly a vehicle for the tragedy of themselves, which is still very interesting. Also, with them either being classified as certified angry assholes, evil dudes, or nice guys, there's a surprising amount of depth with each one. Yeah, there are 3 angry women, but why they're angry and how they're angry does differ. So while I do have a problem with the ratio and the pacing, I do like the slow moments. You can tell each character is friends with each other and that they can actually talk to each other during scenes of them literally just talking. Those talking moments are clumps of exposition, but I don't mind them when they're clearly also showcases of the surprisingly colorful Freelancers. Not gonna lie, at first I thought they were either bland or bitchy, but rewatching these guys really puts into perspective their depths and quirks.
I think I'm gonna be sick!
You know, these suits are supposed to eliminate all waste. You could probably throw up in your helmet and it would take care of it for you.
Yeah, you should test that, Wash. You two are assholes!
You especially start to understand why things are like this when the director starts to show more relevance. Before, you only really hear him in the notes to the chairman, and during the climax of season 6.
Yes, I realize it has been a while since we spoke, David. May I call you David?
No, you cannot. You gave me my new name. The least you could do is use it.
But here, you see how ruthless he is. He shows no respect towards anyone and expects respect from everyone. Yet you also see his tunnel vision. The means justify the ends for him, and even with how he's wrongfully experimenting with not only the technology, but his soldiers, creates a bad guy you love to hate. And since we don't know where he lands in the end until the very end, you're just waiting for everything to eventually sweep his leg. That being said, the slow moments in the animation are rather unpolished. Them talking and fooling around has no real amount of emoting. Like, you can really tell sometimes when all they're moving is their bobbing heads and their bodies ever so slightly. When you see their faces too, they're stiff and oh god. Oh, dang. I'm sorry, they're ugly. The humans look ugly. They look like flesh puppets. There are some cool shots, effects, and moments, even with their helmets off, but in general, the looks are just rather ugly. There's other subtle weirdness when the slow moments happen, but all in all, it just feels a bit off and not played as well as it could. It's kind of like how Tony Hawk hates walking, but can skate better than he could walk.
Your host, Tony Hawk.
Fucking weirdo. But it's clear the intention and probably budget was more towards the fast moments rather than the slow moments. The action is just as amazing as season 8, and this time it's with other competent fighters. I'm not saying that they're better because of it really, they're just different. I know as a kid I was more interested in the competent fights rather than the ones with the reds and blues, but as I get older, I start to notice how much I love the creative spin they gave them during the fights of season 8. But it's not like they ran out of ideas in seasons 9 or 10. Highway fights, falling from a building that just exploded, fighting in low gravity, and on top of things on a spaceship that's crashing down. The scenes go buck fucking wild. In turn, you get at minimum 2 crazy insane characters going all out on each other, trying to get the one-up amongst the chaos in their power levels. It's something I can't describe, but is full of that insanely cool, acrobatic, absolute fun that is Monty Ohn's signature to action. This is what I adore most about the Freelancer parts, as well as the ongoing plot that opens up to us. We finally get the pieces of the puzzle we've been thirsting for forever. What are Omega and Gamma and all that? Where did Tex come from? Who's the director? Who are these people?
Who are these people?
I mean, so much so, no offense to the characters, but the ongoing story is probably what I love watching this part for. Is it weird for me to like the story more for its story compared to the characters? Maybe, but all that juicy lore we've been waiting for finally came! And it's beautiful. And let's not forget all of the beautiful music that was basically all used for these segments. The soundtrack for 9 and 10 were produced by Jeff Williams again, and this time he went all out. You might have heard it from the last track, but this time rapping was included even more into the music, and in turn made for some pretty well amped up action sequences. In general, the music just goes ham. The overall feel of each and every action scene is again amplified with the music, And it's not really limited to one feel. Really, you get softer soundtracks, harder sounding soundtracks, softer sounds and harder soundtracks, a mix of both. I mean, you try listening to these tracks during these scenes and not get addicted. So yeah, I like the Freelancer stuff despite the flaws. What about the Machinima stuff? Well, Season 10 was fine enough and was a nice break of pace to Season 10's other half, which is when things go down. And for Season 9, Season 9 had a potential to be something better, but in turn, we got a simulated version of the Reds and Blues that we know doesn't matter. We all know that the only ones that do matter is Church and Tex, cause the rest were created when Church went into it. You soon figure out the main point of the story is closure with Tex, but when you cut to absolutely useless shenanigans of the Reds that, again, don't matter and ends up being a weird form of torture for Simmons, and overall, everyone is just kind of annoying. It's hopefully understandable where I come from. That being said, it's still funny?
Donut gets to shoot you in exchange for you getting to say what you need to say. 5 minutes of talking for one shot. Where do you want it, Blue? The shoulder or the foot?
Well, obviously I would pick the foot, but I don't want you guys to shoot me in deal. Ow! Son of a bitch!
Okay, your 5 minutes have started. Go.
I know, I don't know if people actually liked Season 9, but I can see people's disdain with the plot in mind. But once you get through that awkward first part, things kind of just become more red and blue shenanigans, and I would be lying if I said there weren't any funny parts.
You're supposed to be, free-spirited. Not some kind of repressed, overachieving jarhead.
1 minute left.
Dude, what fucking clock are you using? It's been like 15 seconds.
I still think the plot is stupid as hell though, and in turn, this part of the series feels like a waste of time. You know what would have been really cool? In Season 14, there were 2 episodes pertaining to Church constantly changing the world for the sake of remixing everything to find a way to get text. Imagine if Season 9 was a weird, morphed version of Season 3, constantly going from one place to another in a weird, convoluted way to develop Church. That would have been awesome, but unfortunately, we didn't get that. We got a more boring, more irritating, Blood Gold Chronicles season. It's still like BCG, but since it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. Okay, I'm done. Anyways, Season 10 was a fun season. All about having to actually work with the bitter character that is Carolina. The Reds and Blues essentially try and teach Carolina how to not be mean. In turn, we get that a lot. Carolina acts cold and reserved, whereas the Reds and Blues gets under her skin for being themselves. Carolina slowly gets more agitated that they're not as gung-ho as they should be, while the Reds and Blues are getting tired of her shit, and in turn, everything else really. This comes to a boiling point when Wash is the mediator, but slowly sides with the Reds and Blues, and Church slowly getting along with Carolina. The interactions with Wash and Carolina are fantastic, as per usual. Interesting talking between freelancers that finally isn't them trying to kill each other, or seeing if they can actually kill each other by looking at one another.
You're trying to do it right now, aren't you?
Stare.
Easy, girl. Carolina has Wash as the only one that can take her seriously, and Wash is just trying to get his friend to loosen up and help heal with their shared pain and trauma. The bits with Carolina and the Sim troops, especially that one part with Caboose, is peak.
I mean, who hasn't? I mean, I understand there's some helmet hair. We all have helmet hair time to time, but, yes, so anyways, what did you want me to tell Church and Tucker again?
Just try and put that into words.
Explosion.
Finally, though, after the falling out,
Forget it, Church. We don't need them.
the climax is amazing.
You have no idea what kind of trouble you are in.
We get Carolina and she's trying to beat our text box and they're just like, bah, bah, bah. But then, oh no, they overwhelm her and she just can't keep up. Oh, but then, oh, somebody saved them. Oh, it's the Reds and Blues. They ended up coming anyways.
Get up.
What
What are you doing here?
I told you they're not so bad once you get to know them.
Playing that beautiful Bloody Mary mix of Blood Gulch Blues, and is slowly panning over anyone getting ready for battle.
Roses are red and violets are blue.
Everyone moving together, oh my god! Dude, I'm fanboying. This is such a great moment for this arc, and if it wasn't for the plot moving forward into chorus, it would be a fantastic end.
She always told me, never say goodbye. If you don't say goodbye, then you aren't really gone. You just aren't here right now.
Your mother sounds like a smart lady.
She was.
And so, season 6 through 10. Man, that was a long cover. I can't say it was perfect, I mean, nothing really is, but still, Project Freelancer is breathtaking. It seems that RVB was great at what it did, but was a bit shaky when roaming around outside its comfort zone. Was it worth it though? I like to think it was, because what a fantastic product in turn. The show evolved and worked itself into something magnificent. It didn't stagnate, it took risks. Sure, the risks were a bit jarring, but in turn, we get one of the most well-produced things the internet has ever cooked up. Something even beyond what was expected out of anybody on YouTube. And that is something to be proud of.